Hello and welcome to this Bitcoin Magazine interview. I am Vlad and my guest today is Max Keidun from HodlHodl. And lately, the company has had some very interesting announcements. And when I say the company, I guess it's not the best way of referring to it, as it's basically a peer-to-peer exchange which allows people to trade their Bitcoins for fiat or other cryptocurrencies without any KYC and AML process. And it's one of the few cypherpunk havens that we still have in this world, which seems to get stricter with regulation.
Hello, everyone. Vlad, thank you for having me. My pleasure. Let's go.
Yes, so I was in the audience during the Baltic Honey Badger conference, and I saw your announcement that HodlHodl is going open source. And there are two phases that you presented. The first was about the platform itself, the exchange, and the second one was about the API. Why did you decide all of a sudden to do this? Does it have anything to do with local Bitcoins, doing more KYC?
Actually, no. We've explained this pretty extensively in our blog posts, and we tried to explain to some extent during the presentation on Baltic Honey Badger. But the general idea is that it's basically two announcements made during one presentation. So the first one is open sourcing HodlHodl, putting it under the license, and basically now everyone can review the code. And if someone wants to copy paste the exchange, they can do that as well. But we're putting it on the license, under the license. So basically you won't be able to do that easily. You will need to negotiate something with us. But yeah, we're doing this an open source model because we believe getting the transparency, and one of the reasons is that if the code will be open source, if something will happen with HodlHodl, I don't know, maybe in the far future, then the code won't be lost. So people will be able to use that to fork it and to use it to some extent. The another thing is a generic escrow API platform, as we say, where you will be able to use two of the smart contract types that we have currently. One we use in our exchange, and another one we use in predictions. Both of them are peer-to-peer. Both of them are Bitcoin only. And what we believe with that, that actually at some point we just recognize that there's nobody doing this on the market, in crypto, in Bitcoin industry. So we've been advised by some of the heavyweights in the industry that we need to move in that direction by some really big software companies. And why we want to do that? Because now actually the idea generally was proposed by one of our OTC partners that were using HodlHodl. And these guys, they mentioned that it's all good, it's non-custodial, everything works well, but our customers, they trust us, they don't trust HodlHodl. And it's really hard for us to explain to non-technical people what is non-custodial, why is safe to use that, why is safe to use this trustless system. And they mentioned that it would be great if instead of HodlHodl, the third key would be held by the OTC desk. And we decided, well, why not? We can release the API, and smaller OTC desks that don't have, it's just one use case, but smaller OTC desks that don't have large amount of funds to build an infrastructure, to build hot wallet, cold wallet storage, to do the regular security audits, to do that stuff. They can actually, using HodlHodl API, they can build a non-custodial system of trading within their own desk. So basically their clients will be able to use this and to trade within their own system using HodlHodl API. And there were like many different use cases. We've been approached by some of companies that are working in peer-to-peer betting, that are willing actually to use Bitcoin as a payment method. And that's where the prediction smart contract type kicks in. And there are also companies that are willing to build like market for freelancers. And now you can use the same approach that we use in exchange, but on the other side, you will exchange BTC not versus fiat, but you will exchange BTC, for example, versus some kind of work that's been done by freelancers. Or you will exchange by any other assets that you like real estate, cars, whatever.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting, but just for the record, if there is somebody listening to this and has no idea what the API is, it stands for Application Programming Interface. And in my mind, when I think about this, it's like, to me as a video gamer, somebody who used to play computer games, it's like one of these map editors which allows you to create your own level with the engine of the game. And I used to do that with Doom and Quake and whatever I was playing when I was younger. And our API is similar in the sense that they provide you all the tools that the engine has built so that you can create your own level according to your expectations.
Well, basically, like if we're like compare it with the gaming, that you will be able to create your own game using our API. So like you will be even able to create your own exchange if you want. And like conventional OTC desks that are centrally holding the funds, like big names, they will be able to provide non-custodial solutions to their clients using HodlHodl API. So it doesn't work only for smaller OTC desks that don't have capabilities to build their own infrastructure. It will also be pretty much useful for big OTC desks that can just switch in our API, which is like perfectly tested with all the security audits in place and all that stuff, which will be supported by us with all the updates, with all the penetration testing and all that stuff. And as many clients became more and more sophisticated, they do understand that they don't want to hold or they don't want to trade within any central system. And so it might be useful also for bigger OTC desks, just as an option for like more sophisticated clients that prefer to trade in non-custodial ways rather than in custodial ways.
Right. But so far you have open sourced the code, and even before this, I guess the reputation of HodlHodl was pretty good and the platform was robust. And did you get any kind of comments or feedback based on the code, or are there any proposals to improve it?
We actually open source part of our solutions that we have on HodlHodl that we developed for HodlHodl, like for example, TXC catcher, which actually easy, lightweight transaction catcher for our exchange. And we developed part of the tools. We didn't open source yet. We didn't put in public the code for exchange. We will do that in the beginning of 2020. So far, the comments are really great. And as I mentioned, that like basically everyone will be able to do their own exchange. We have already since announcement during the Honey Badger, which was 2 weeks ago precisely. We've been contacted by 6 or 7 different parties from different regions in the world that where people they don't have proper centralized license at Bitcoin exchanges, but they want to have or give the opportunity to the local community to trade BTC. And we've been asked whether when the open source will be available, when we will be able to negotiate on terms, etc., etc. So it's this approach is working, and we see a lot of interest from the market, that people are both interested in doing in open source of exchange, and also interested in using our API as well.
But how is this profitable? Because I can think of the old way of thinking in the business world, where you want to obtain patents and you want to always have an advantage over the competition. And right now, HodlHodl just gives everything, or at least part of your platform, to anyone so that they can create their own alternatives. And
Yeah.
basically, your business model was based on collecting fees from people exchanging
Yeah.
Bitcoins on your platform. And maybe that if new platforms emerge, then you're going to have fewer transactions.
Well, if we do that, if we are speaking about open sourcing the exchange and like forking the exchange, like forking or copying the exchange, and as I mentioned, it will be open source, but it will be under the license. So you need to negotiate, you need to pay something to us for us providing this work to you. If we're speaking about the API, then we're still thinking about like you don't want to have your own exchange. You just want to have like smart contracts functionality. I don't know, for your OTC desk. Like then the business model is that you will just literally pay some small amount of each trade that you will do through the HodlHodl escrow services. So, and also there are many businesses in the Bitcoin that we know that are open sourced and they're actually profitable. So because it's like the reputation, the team, the experience, the knowledge is it what is what means to the community and to the people that trust you. You know, you can just literally copy many of projects out there, but who knows whether you will be able and you will be capable to deliver the same amount of quality and security in the future as they do, as the original code source is doing. So basically that's it.
Before this interview, I spoke to you and I asked you a few questions. And one of them was about the partners who contacted you and which one of them are okay to disclose at this point.
Well, we have a partner who is our OTC partner, which is L2B Global. They're like we can disclose them as well. It's a like pretty new OTC desk. Like they're like a bit more than 1 year old, maybe to some extent a bit more. But although the OTC desk is not so like old in terms of incorporating, but they're very experienced guys working on this OTC desk. So they're interested in using our API for trading. So they want to build their own system within their own OTC desk, non-custodial system. And we also have some companies that run huge binary option trading platforms. They have a background more in like traditional finance, not the crypto guys, but they want to create prediction markets and peer-to-peer betting markets with our API as well. These guys are from binarium.com. It's one of the largest binary options trading platforms in the world.
When I was speaking to Roman, who is your partner in this project, he told me that, I asked him if he has any kind of predictions or expectations for the success of this project. And his answer was quite direct. And he said he doesn't do any kind of predictions, he writes code. And do you have any kind of different answer to this?
You know, I also don't like making predictions because we have like we've been experiencing a lot of interesting things with doing predictions and sometimes just making a bold moves pays off. Like I've been interviewed before the like Baltic Honey Badger conference. I've been interviewed by one guy and he asked me what was the reason behind you starting the Bitcoin conference in Riga in 2017, and I'm like I even couldn't like say something logical to him. Just we thought like, hey, let's do that. It will be fun anyway. Even if we will lost money, it will be fun. And we just did that. And if you like, and as you see, like Honey Badger is one of the top Bitcoin conference in the world now, and people are waiting for this. People Honey Badger has his own like special vibe. Same was with HodlHodl. You know, we made some predictions, didn't work out. To some extent, we changed something within the HodlHodl. We presented new functionality of smart contracts, and then it started to kicking off. So I'm not going to do the predictions about this. I'm really excited about the API platform because I see many use cases for that. And I see the interest also from potential investors that we've been speaking like lately with some of the big names in the industry, and they've been like saying that this is really interesting, and I see that this niche is actually empty at the moment. So yeah, I hope that it will be big success, the API platform, and like open sourcing HodlHodl as well. But we'll see. We're really excited about that. That's for sure.
Your API also has that 2 out of 3 multi-sig system, right?
Yeah, we have 2 out of 3, but actually the API will be able, with the API you will be able to do N out of M. So basically, if you want to have like 5 keys out of 10, I don't know, you have some complicated business cases, and you want to cover these business cases with Bitcoin, and you need to have consensus of 50% of people that actually hold the keys to this multi-signature account. You will be able to do that as well.
Right. And is it fixed within the code that the platform will always hold 1 key, or can that be changed?
Actually, if we speak about the API, the platform that will be that you will be like incorporating the API with, like for example, if you have an OTC desk and you want to use our API for non-custodial, then of course you will be able to hold 1 key out of many, or you will, if you want, you can do like 2 keys out of 5. You will be able to hold that, or like 3 keys out of 10, whatever. But yeah, the platform owner usually willing to hold 1 out of several amount of keys, because you know who will resolve the disputes if they will appear at some point.
Right. But at the same time, the proportion has to be kept so that the platform can actually make a difference in the case of a dispute. Because if it's just 1 key out of 10, then there can be this balance of power which pushes other forces to make decisions, and there's nothing that the exchange can do.
Yeah, but it's like it's for the people that are building these platforms. Like, you know, I don't know. I can imagine few business cases where platform will hold only 1 key, and you will need like to put in like 5 keys in order to release funds in one or in another direction. Why not? Maybe some kind of shipping industry where you need to have some checkpoints with the agents that will just like the shipment went through this through this country, through this country, to this country, and then in the end you just put your key and that's it. I don't know. It's like there's so many business cases. One of the ideas behind the building just generic smart contracts and releasing it under the API, so that many people in the world, or many businesses in the world from different sectors, can use that, because we within the HodlHodl just cannot evaluate and imagine and build that much platforms for different business types, different business categories, different use cases. So it's easier for us to just build one fundamental, like generic escrow contract or generic escrow solution, so that many other companies in the world, I don't know, again, OTCs, real estate agents, luxury goods sellers, just like name it, freelance markets, e-gaming banks, and etc., so they can just use this and build it how they want to do that, and within their own scope of experience and within their own scope of sector in the business.
Right. Another question that I have, and I have been thinking about this, is the API Bitcoin only, or can you also add other altcoins?
If the altcoin is Bitcoin based, like the code is from Bitcoin, like Litecoin, for example, then most probably you will be able to do that, but otherwise, no.
So you'll not be able to do this with tokens or with
No,
Monero or something else.
no, no. I like Monero, but like our core competency is Bitcoin, and you also need to understand that at some point when we will have like many customers, we need to update this API. We need to make it secure as possible. We need to do the penetration testing, and having multiple assets just increase the security risks. So it's easier, better, and I think safer, and like the most the biggest liquidity is out there in Bitcoin, you know. Bitcoin at the moment, even with all this like crazy markets, it's still like 65% of the market, of the crypto market. And I think that at some point we might see that Bitcoin becoming so much dominant that there's like no need to use like others altcoins, or there's like less and less need to use other altcoins.
With my next question, I will possibly move away from this topic and get back to the Honey Badger conference and also to the activity that you're doing, because I remember a tweet by Roman in which he said that during the conference he noticed that there might have been some agents from 3-letter agencies. And I was thinking, what is it like? I know that Latvia is a member of the European Union and is a European country. But what is it like to work in the Bitcoin space and have a business which is legitimate and works for Bitcoin under that jurisdiction? Is it a good place for Bitcoin?
Well, it's a good place for a conference because we just organize the conference, and it's just there's no difference with organizing the Bitcoin conference here or food fair or like real estate conference, whatever. It's just an event that we do here. So it's really good place to organize a conference. But in terms of crypto, there's no legislation, proper legislation in Latvia. So we actually don't work here. We just, some of our people are based here in Baltics, to say like more in more generic terms. And so yeah, I don't know how it's to work here. We want to solve this issue because we have some plans maybe to help local authorities to understand what it is, and like we want to create a Baltics. And when I speak about Baltics, I'm saying about Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, so 3 countries. Of course, we want to create some kind of like crypto hub or blockchain hub in here, so that there are community. But actually, there's not much of people in here working in crypto, not much startups in here, and like many of them are just incorporated in other countries and they have just offices here. So I wouldn't say that it's like it's on the level of Switzerland or on the level of Malta or any other country that embrace crypto or blockchain. So I think no, it's this like uncertainty with the legal system is a bit scary, and people don't want to incorporate crypto companies in here. And also local banks are not very friendly towards crypto business.
Oh, really? I remember I was speaking with Elena Vranova from Casa and previously Slush and Trezor. And she told me that in the Czech Republic, there was nothing related to Bitcoin when she first started. And when she was trying to raise capital for Trezor to launch the very first hardware wallet, it was very difficult and most people had no idea what that was about. But right now, if you go to Prague, you're going to find a very vibrant Bitcoin scene.
Yeah.
And when one of my colleagues, Colin, wrote an article earlier this year in which he said that he was not able to survive on Bitcoin in San Francisco, he was invited to go to Prague. And they said, if you come here, you're going to discover a whole different situation. So I guess these places, which on one hand, they used to be under the influence of the Soviet Union, and they
Yeah.
have a relatively short history of independence, and it's in their best interest to actually stand out and adopt the newest of technologies as a way of possibly becoming important world powers in the future. And there's a lot of potential where you don't have any specific legislation. Of course, as a country which is a member of the European Union, it's very likely that there will be directives and regulations that basically push domestic legislation, regardless of your intentions. But it's still a very good starting point, I guess.
Yeah, it is. And like we are now considering opening, as I mentioned, blockchain hub here in Riga, so that like next Honey Badger conference we might have some events in this blockchain hub. We're also speaking now with Parallelny Polis. Maybe we will be able to open something in here as well. So we're trying to move this forward, but we'll see. Hopefully, like the government or the local authorities will recognize this industry and they will embrace that, because as you mentioned, and I completely agree with you, like for small independent countries, you need to stand out, you need to embrace sometimes some risky stuff in order to win big. Like Malta, for example, they're treated as a crypto hub in the world. Like Binance opened their office in there, and many other countries. And like Malta is a small country. Still, everyone speaks about Malta, and they have a pretty solid business reputation within the space. So I hope that something will change here. But at the moment, yeah, as I mentioned, it's a really good place, and I love Riga and I love Latvia, and like really good place to organize a conference, to bring people here. They will enjoy it 100%. But business-wise, I'm not sure.
Now, speaking of the future, because you mentioned it, you started writing code for HodlHodl, and you have developed the platform, and now you're open sourcing it. And what is next for you? Are you going to be some sort of advisor for ways in which the API and the platform can be used? Are you going to help other businesses open their own platforms?
Yeah, well, HodlHodl eventually will become more and more software company. So with API, with helping the open sourcing and helping to copying the exchange, we will become more and more software company. We want to become a big infrastructure player for Bitcoin-based smart contracts. That's our goal, and we will definitely still work under the exchange and all other projects. Like open sourcing the exchange or building a new platform doesn't mean that we're like letting go of other projects. No, we have capabilities to work simultaneously under different projects. And like if you will check out again the Bitcoin space, they're like most of the companies, they usually have like 2-3 different projects that they're doing. Like name whatever company, they usually have like if it's like exchange, they have maybe some other like lending platform, they have stable coins, they have something like that. So usually it doesn't, you're not fixed on the one platform, because the space in here, like in crypto, is so vibrant and interesting that there's like constantly a new different different opportunities approaching. So definitely we're going to work hard on our exchange. We're going to work hard on our API platform. And well, eventually we will become like software company, more like a software company and less like exchange operator.
Sounds really good. And I really look forward to see what's going to come out of this, as it sounds very promising. And the use cases that you mentioned are very important. And I can imagine, at least in a few industries, from trading and gambling and video games, they want to use Bitcoins and they have all the reasons to use the API to integrate into their systems.
Yeah, we like we recently wrote a blog post. I think you will somehow take some information for your article as well for this. But we highlighted four, I think, yeah, was four different use cases that we believe, but again, it's just our bold prediction. We believe that it will be useful for our API. Like one was the OTC desk, which I already mentioned to you. Another one was building your own prediction markets and building peer-to-peer betting platforms with Bitcoin. The third was e-gaming. And the fourth was like general selling goods, services for Bitcoin using our escrow solution. So we believe that these four might be the most popular use cases for our smart contract API platform.
Thank you very much. And I feel like I have learned a lot from this interview, and I wish you the best of luck with HodlHodl. And maybe by
Thank you very
next
much.
year, if I'm coming to Riga for the 2020, I'm sorry, I'm stuck in the past, 2020 edition of the Baltic Honey Badger Conference, maybe that you're going to have such big announcements that it will be hard to believe that you started from just open sourcing the platform.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. We kindly invite you and Bitcoin Magazine, our good friends, to Baltic Honey Badger 2020. Is definitely happening next year. Maybe there will be some surprises, but we will like announce it soon as well. And yeah, let's see you maybe earlier than next year in Riga. I think we might see each other like within the month, but we'll see. And yeah, see you next year in Riga as well.
Okay, Max Keidun, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vlad.